Bienvenue à tous. Welcome to Reporters Plus here on France 24. In this edition, Palestinians, Fatah, Hamas, people who are always in the headlines over the conflict with Israel, a conflict that seems to have, sadly, no end. But there's also an internal dispute between these two Palestinian factions. It all began when Hamas, the Islamists, seized power in Gaza in 2007. So Fatah lobbies the world for Palestinian statehood from the West Bank, while Hamas holds sway over the Gaza Strip. This family at war with itself has given birth to an atmosphere of intimidation. Voices that express a different opinion to those of the ruling group are often suppressed, sometimes violently. Our reports by Iris Makler, Antoine Mariotti, Matthias Som and Rami Abu Jamas.
قولوا بعد المقابلة هذه كمان حبس. Maybe. Why not? This is Hamas. That's it.
بس أنا بتمنى إنهم إذا اعتقلوني يعني تسووا إشي يعني.
حاسس إن أنت عايش تحت ديكتاتورية؟
بالطبع. إحنا يعني نفتقد لأي حاجة.
To be Hamas member or Hamas supporter is a nightmare today in the West Bank, not only because of the occupation, but also because of the policies of the Palestinian authorities.
And they've developed a machine of repression. There are two authorities, but there's one way and no dissent.
Yasser Arafat, the father of Palestinian nationalism, is buried here in Ramallah.
He's buried here, but it's temporary. If all goes well, one day after the liberation, when we have recovered Jerusalem, he will be buried there. All the political prisoners who are released before returning home to see their parents visit the grave of President Yasser Arafat. When someone goes on a trip, when he comes back, he also comes to visit the grave. It really has become a tradition, and it's a symbol of unity. That is to say that Yasser Arafat, no matter what political opinion we have today in Palestine, no matter which political party we are following or not, Yasser Arafat remains a symbol that unites all Palestinians in the Palestinian cause.
Yasser Arafat reste un symbole qui unit tout le peuple palestinien dans la cause palestinienne.
But 15 years after the death of the man with the famous keffiyeh, his people are more divided than ever. In the West Bank, the Palestinian Authority's in control. In the areas not controlled by Israel, that is. The authority is ruled by Fatah, the party Arafat founded. In the Gaza Strip, the Islamist group Hamas has ruled since seizing power by force in 2007. The scars of that short civil war remain palpable today, pitting Hamas and Fatah against one another. To reach the blockaded Gaza Strip, the main entry is via Israel, through the Erez checkpoint. But Israel gives out permits only sparingly. Palestine TV is one of the few institutions present in both the West Bank and Gaza. It's public television funded by the Palestinian Authority. Its journalists in Gaza say they're under surveillance by Hamas, which has cut their antenna in the past.
Guys, I'm going to record my voice, okay?
Fouad Jarada is Palestine TV's chief correspondent here. He's compiling a report on fishing boats, confiscated by Israel and only returned now, years later.
Gaza's fishing boats will once again be able to embrace the waves of the Mediterranean after years in which the Israelis let rust devour their skeletons.
But although Palestine TV has the right to broadcast in Gaza, freedom of expression is an illusion here.
It's not only Palestinian internal affairs that we cannot talk about, but also Hamas's policy, particularly on the deal with Israel. This kind of subject can be sensitive for Hamas. That's why we have to weigh every word, every image. This is called the gold balance. Why? Because we do not want to be accused of anything.
3 daily news reports and 5 weekly TV shows are produced in Gaza and sent to the main station in Ramallah.
That's the cameraman's office. This is Mumin Shubaki, one of the cameramen. We put the equipment in here and the camera's in there. There's not enough equipment, but we have people who know how to use it. It's equipment that's considered very old compared to other satellite channels. This is what remains of the stuff that was confiscated and destroyed in January this year.
In January, the station was attacked by an armed gang. Cameras, editing machines, in all 120,000 euros worth of broadcasting equipment were destroyed. Hamas claims it's an internal Fatah issue. Fuad Jarada and his colleagues argue that nothing like this could happen in Gaza without Hamas approval.
Abu Awad, do we have pictures of the fishing boats? We need them for the edit. After that, we'll go out.
Fuad's endured a lot. Last year, just after the start of Ramadan, he was arrested for the 5th time by Hamas security forces. The official charge was destabilising the security of the Gaza Strip.
I'm one of those who was arrested, tortured and placed in humiliating situations on several occasions. Last time it lasted 70 days. Each time it was based on journalistic or security reasons. Torture is not only physical and psychological in prison. Torture is also external when the journalist's family is also abused. For Hamas, every journalist is guilty until proven innocent.
The NGO Human Rights Watch documented these abuses in a report in late 2018. Regional Director Omar Shakir has collected several testimonies.
Many people are put in a room that's known as the bus. The bus room is an area in which people are forbidden from sitting down outside of being put in a child's chair or are made to stand for hours at a time.
There are many similar accounts, but Hamas claims that if there is poor treatment, it's caused by lack of funding.
We have some technical problems here in Gaza that because of the siege, because of lacking financial resources, because of lacking building materials and others, we were not able to build the adequate detention centers to be more humanized.
The interrogations took place at any time of the day or night. It could be 6 in the evening or 2 in the morning. I was blindfolded during these interrogations when I was sitting, when I went to the bathroom, when I prayed, all the time. The only time I could remove the blindfold was to wash myself before prayer, and that was the first 30 days of my detention.
Many in Gaza are also subjected to foot whipping, and of course we see routine beatings as well as intimidation, threats, sometimes sexual threats, threats against family.
Fuad claims that when he was in prison, the Palestinian Authority did try to negotiate his release, to no avail. Then the authority arrested 5 Hamas journalists in the West Bank, apparently as bargaining chips. 10 days later, Fuad was released.
I think this is not accurate. This is not true. I cannot deny that some mistakes can be done here or there, but there is no policies, there is no adopted rules and regulations that anyone who is Fatah must be arrested and you can move in the street freely.
You may be able to walk quietly in the street, But it's risky to talk truth to power. The political divisions between Fatah and Hamas affect the daily lives of Palestinians, who cope with many restrictions, including power cuts. Gaza's electricity comes from 3 sources: Israel, Egypt, and a local power plant. This plant, the only one in Gaza, struggles to obtain the fuel it needs in order to operate.
This company is not responsible for getting the fuel. It's the responsibility of the Palestinian National Authority, who is the one who should supply this power plant with the fuel. If this fuel is disconnected, we cannot operate this power plant, of course, and we cannot serve the customers.
When tensions with Hamas escalate, the Palestinian Authority refuses to pay for the fuel. Since late 2018, funding has come from the outside. Qatar, the Gulf state which supports Hamas, spends $10 million each month on fuel for Gaza's power plant.
Both which is generated from this power plant and what's come through Israel is only less than 50% of the demand of the Gaza Strip. So what we have, if this power plant in operation, you are talking about almost 8 hours of supply of electricity per customer per day, 8-hour connection, 8-hour disconnection.
Since Egypt also cut its contribution down to almost zero, Gaza's electricity supply has now fallen even below 8 hours on, 8 hours off. For Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas, the focus is not improving the power supply to Gaza. He condemns the financial support from Qatar, saying it legitimises Hamas. For Fatah, Hamas's takeover of Gaza in 2007 was a coup d'etat. Civil servants working in Gaza before that date were on the Palestinian Authority payroll. Since then, the authority has demanded they stay home rather than work for Hamas. For these employees, it's miserable. They only receive a half salary, and Hamas prevents them from finding other jobs. Mohammed Khamis, a Palestinian Authority police officer, has not touched his uniform for 12 years. He finds it difficult to provide the basics for his family.
Are there any lentils, Abu Iyad? Did they buy coffee? Hey, Abu Iyad, did the kids buy coffee for the house?
Yes, of course.
You can take a packet of chips. That'll do. Life is becoming more expensive. Everything is becoming more expensive. Rent, credit, internet. Today we buy fresh water. Before, tap water was good, but now we have to buy it. Imagine, today I only buy a kilo of flour to make bread, while before I used to buy a 50-kilo bag. Abu Iyad, can you please add the amount to my tab? I'll pay you at the end of the month. Sorry, I know I owe you a lot of money.
Everything is on credit because today everyone is unemployed. The majority of civil servants receive salaries. Life is based on wages. If there is no salary, everything is added to the bill on credit. At the end of the month, when the wages are paid, you ask him for the money. But he says to you, sorry, my water and electricity bill has been deducted. So he asks me to postpone the next month, and so on.
Where's Judy? Come, here, I bought you some sweets. Take them. Leave her, Nidal. Here's something from your dad. Apparently the electricity is off. Yes, it's off. It doesn't work. We'll connect the small LED lamp with the cord. It works with 18 amps. We managed with these dodgy means. We've suffered from these power cuts for years. We only have 4 hours of electricity a day, and that is not enough for our needs, to wash, to prepare food, to put on the fans. We put this lamp so that the kids can do their homework. Come on, Motaz, we'll go up to the roof. Judy, come with me. We'll go on the roof because it's too hot inside. Come on, let's go. When you have electricity, you don't have water, and vice versa. It's summertime, and as you can see, we can't stay in the apartment because of the weather. In winter, you can't turn on the heat, and in summer, you can't turn on the fan. So it's too hot in summer and too cold in winter. And all of that is because of the division.
Mohammed feels he's lost the best years of his life. He struggles to answer his children when they ask him what job he does. And he can't see a solution on the horizon either.
We live in a huge prison. We're deprived of the simplest things. We cannot move, we can't travel, we have no salary, and we can't live with dignity. We have no running water, no electricity. You can't imagine how much we suffer. It's really a huge prison.
Daily life is less harsh in the West Bank. The territory is not under blockade, and there's better access to basics such as water and electricity. But here too, freedom of expression is curtailed. Osama al-Nabrisi spent more than 12 years in an Israeli jail after an attack on a West Bank settlement. This morning he's in Ramallah to meet the director of Human Rights Watch. The NGO's last report included his case.
Hello, Osama. Welcome. How are you? Please sit down. How's everything in Kalkilia?
Since Osama's release, it's the Palestinian Authority that's been pursuing him.
When he was in an Israeli prison, he affiliated with Hamas. Because in Israeli detention systems, everybody affiliates based on political affiliation. It's the social network, it's the way in which you operate. Solely based on that affiliation, he was picked up.
Osama says he never supported the Islamist movement. For him, the choice of Hamas was more practical.
I spent 12 years in Israeli jails. I was not a member of any faction. I was on the Hamas side. The main reason is because they have a university. I studied Sharia for 2 years and then history for 4 years. I wanted to spend my years in prison studying to make my detention useful.
He says he now lives to the rhythm of Fatah arrests, 30 in all, without a charge being laid. At every moment, he now expects to see Palestinian Authority police.
Did you help someone? What are you going to do in the future with Hamas against the Jews? All the questions they ask me are about what I did in prison. They ask me if I gave them money, if I helped someone. But I was in prison. How could I have been able to give money while in detention or to help anyone? I was behind bars, among the Israelis. How do they imagine I could go to Palestine and then go back to prison?
Have their questions changed since our report was published?
They've stopped asking me questions since the report. They just keep me in a cell. Why are they doing this? What's the point? I didn't do anything. I concentrate on my job.
But according to the law, after 24 hours, you're supposed to be brought before a judge.
No, nothing like that. You just stay in your cell. Once they put me in a cell without a blanket or a mattress. I spent a week in this room while I was on a hunger strike. It was very cold and the cell was dark. There was no real light, just a very little light. A week later, they sent me home because I was so weak due to the hunger strike.
He stayed in hospital for several days after his release that time. On other occasions, Osama claims he was tortured.
They tied my hands behind my back and hung me up all night. They did it to me more than once.
That's a recurring practice, according to Human Rights Watch.
There are several detention facilities in Jericho, many of which have very bad reputations. One of them is known as the Butchery, and it's known for that nickname because at that facility we see a range of torture tactics used. The most common way of doing that is to tie a detainee's hands behind their back, to then hoist them by rope with their arms behind their back, often against a door, and then to leave them hanging for periods of sometimes hours.
I think we have the right to consider the Palestinian Authority as a dictatorship. We are asking for elections since years. If you are politically a dictator and also violating basic human rights of your own people by arresting them, this is really shameful.
شكرا لك. لا شكرا على الواجب، واجبنا يعني. يلا الله معكم. مع السلامة.
Frightened by the repeated arrests, Osama lives like a recluse in Qalqilia, a West Bank town 2 hours north of Ramallah.
Today I'm settled, married, I have an apartment, children, a wife, but I have no friends. I go from home to work and work to home. Why do they keep arresting me? That's the big question. Today I'm not going anywhere. You see what I mean? That's why freedom of expression, being able to give my opinion, is completely foreign to me. Of course, there's no freedom of expression here, but I don't even try to participate in the debate.
Hamas abuses in the Gaza Strip are regularly singled out, while those of the Palestinian Authority are more often ignored.
Governments in Europe, France, and others that see their role as important in supporting a two-state solution in the peace process often engage in a process of trying to bolster and build relationships with the Palestinian Authority. There is significant security assistance that goes to security agencies of the Palestinian Authority, and there is a lack of willingness to criticize these serious abuses out of fear that that'll further weaken the Palestinian Authority.
The Palestinian Authority is fighting against Hamas' presence in the Palestinian society for an internal Palestinian cause, and because of the pressure of the Israelis, because between the Israelis and the Palestinian Authority there are signed agreements which so-called the security coordination, which we consider it a security collaboration.
Human Rights Watch says it's possible that what it calls the security psychosis of Hamas and Fatah will eclipse the fight against Israel. In recent years, Palestinians have mobilised more for domestic issues of freedom or purchasing power than to protest against the Jewish state.
It is possible to be a member of Fatah and live in the Gaza Strip, but if one chooses to express support for Fatah in different formats, one is quite likely to face arrest on multiple occasions. It is impossible to be a Hamas militant today in the West Bank.
Hey buddy, are you ready? We need a camera and a microphone with the logo of the network on it. Hi Nader, are you going down? Okay, we'll come with you.
To complete his news report, Fuad Jadari needs to film himself outdoors. He's looking for a busy street, but placing himself there with the Palestine TV logo could be dangerous. So Fouad and his cameraman keep an eye out.
مخاصمة الجبناء فؤاد جرى لتلفزيون فلسطين قطاع غزة.
It's all about timing. If it's a period of political tension, then I could be very scared to do that here because I'm well known and the logo of the channel's there. Someone could arrive and stop me because I don't have permission. Even if I did, I'm just filming on the street and it's not a safe area.
Even though today's not particularly tense, Fouad wants to leave quickly.
Abu Walid, did you see how the bike stopped? We have to act quickly, please. It's important. We're going. Antoine.
That's it.
Before the Palestinian territories have achieved statehood, they appear to have become police states on both sides. It will take more than the memory of Yasser Arafat to reconcile these brothers at war. They have a common enemy in Israel, but are divided by the struggle for power.
Our report was by Iris Makler, Anton Mariotti, Matthias Som and Rami Abu Jamus. See it again, of course, via our website www.france24.com. This is Reporters Plus on France 24. Please stay with us.